Hey students, welcome back to this video. Okay, so in the last video we have seen the 5 questions. Now the remaining questions will be in this video. Okay, so the first question of this video is the question number 6. Let's highlight the important points. A company manufactures two types of fertilizers, F1 and F2. Each type of fertilizer requires two raw materials, A and B. Okay, so these are the raw materials and these are the fertilizers. The number of units of A and B required to manufacture one unit of fertilizer F1 and F2 and availability is shown in here this table. Okay, by selling one unit of F1, one unit of F2, company gets a profit of 500 and 750 respectively. Okay, so what is your maximum objective function is to maximize the profit. Okay, on one unit of F1 and F2, this much is the profit. So what will be your decision variable? So step number 1 is what? The decision variables. Let x and y be the, now what will be the decision variable? X and y will be the unit of F1 and F2, number of units of F1 and F2. Okay, so this is what the values of the decision variables x1 and x2. Step number 2 is get the objective function which is there in the last sentence. Objective function z is equals to how much? F1 पे कितना profit है भाई? It is 500x. F2 पे कितना है? Plus 750y. Okay, so this is what my objective equation is, and the function will be, so maximizing this z is nothing but my objective function. Step number 3 is what? The constraints. The constraints you will be seeing in the A and B. So for A, what is the constraint? So it requires 2x plus 3y. It is equals to, so not equals to, of course. So this is what we have the x. यहाँ पे x है, यहाँ पे y है. This is what the maximum availability. Okay, so it should be less than or equals to 40. And for B, you will be having x plus 4y, which is again less than or equals to 70. So step number 4 is last, non-negative constraints, which is x is 0 or positive, y is 0 or positive. Okay, so in this way we can formulate the given L.P.P. Great. Okay, so without any further delay, let's proceed to the question number 7. Okay, so question number 7 says, okay, a doctor has prescribed 2 units of foods A and B to form a weekly diet for a sick person. अच्छा, ऐसा है क्या? Okay. A doctor has prescribed 2 different units of food A and food B to form a weekly diet for a sick person. The minimum requirements of fats, carbohydrates and proteins are, minimum requirement मतलब ये हो गया अपने constraints. रिमेंबर मिनिमम मैक्सिमम जो भी आएगा ना उस पर कंस्टेंट्स रहेंगे अपने. सो फैट्स, कार्बोहाइड्रेट्स एंड प्रोटीन्स आर व्हाट? 18, 28 एंड 14 यूनिट्स रिस्पेक्टिवली. 1 unit of food A has 4 units of fats, 14 units of carbohydrates and 8 units of protein. For B we have 6, 12 and 8 respectively. The price of food A is 4.5 per unit. Okay, so this is what our profit function is, which is given in the last sentence. Okay, and for food B it is 3.5 and food A it is a 4.5 per unit बोला है. Okay, form the L.P.P so that the sick person's diet meets the requirements at minimum cost. Okay, so let's write down this step number 1. So that is, that is the values of x and y. So x and y be the, what will be the decision variable now? Per unit किस पे बोला है भाई? Per unit बोला है food A पे. So x and y be the number of units, the number of units of A, food A and food B. So step number 2 will be what? Get the profit function, or the objective function is what? Objective function is nothing but z is equals to 4.5x, which is of food A, and 3.5 of y, which is food B. This is the total cost for 1 unit of food A and food B. Okay, but I want x units and y units of food A and food B, so I want to minimize this cost. Okay, so minimizing this z is my objective in this L.P.P. Step number 3 is what? Constraints. So for constraints, let's have the table now. Okay, So of course x and y will be your columns. So food A, which is nothing but x, and food B, which is nothing but y, and the maximum availability. Okay, let's see which is maximum or minimum availability. Let's have, so what are the constraints on fat, carbohydrates and proteins? So we have fats, we have carbs, carbohydrates, and we have the proteins. Okay, see here, मिनिमम रिक्वायरमेंट बोला है. मिनिमम रिक्वायरमेंट मतलब फैट्स है ना, वो मिनिमम 18 होना चाहिए, मिनिमम 18 होना चाहिए, सो नॉट अ मैक्सिमम. So in a food A and food B, there should be minimum 18 units of fats, 28 units of carbs, and 14 units of proteins. Okay, so these are what the minimum. मतलब फूड ए में कम से कम 18 होना चाहिए, ज़्यादा कितना भी हो सकता है. ओके, ग्रेट. Now 1 unit of food A has 4 units of fats, 14 units of carbs and 8 units of, so 4, 14 and 8. So it is 4, it is 14 and 8, food A. And what about food B? It is 6, 12 and 8. So it is 6, 12 and 8. So this is how you get the table for this. Okay, now let's have the constraints. So step number 3. So for constraint number 1, fat, for fats you will be having 4x plus 6y is 18. Now which sign you will have, less than or equals to or greater than or equals to? Of course I will be having greater than because it is the minimum requirement. Okay, so it should be greater than or equals to 18. Next we have is for carbs. Okay, ये कितना आ गया भाई, 14x plus 12y which is again greater than or equals to 28. Then we have proteins which is 8x plus 8y greater than or equals to 14. Okay, and what is our last step? Non-negative constraints, which is nothing but x is 0 or positive and y is 0 or positive. Okay, so in this way we can form the L.P.P for a given passage. Okay, great. So I hope you have understood this. Let's see the next one. 8th. See, the question number 8 and 9 are very important. These are totally conceptual based. You no need to draw the table, just proceed with the sentences. Okay, so let's have the question number 8 here. Okay, so what it is saying, if John drives a car at a speed of 60 kilometers per hour, he has to spend 5 rupees per kilometer on petrol. If he drives at a faster speed of 90 kilometers per hour, the cost of petrol increases to 8 per kilometer. He has rupees 600 with him to spend on petrol and wish to travel maximum distance within an hour. Within an hour मतलब ये हो गया अपना constraint. Okay, he has 600 rupees. Okay, इससे ज़्यादा वो खर्चा नहीं कर सकता. So this also becomes my constraint. Okay, and he wish to travel the maximum distance मतलब क्या है, ये हो गया मेरा objective function. See how we are getting all the variables, all the required terms from this passage. Okay, and these are what the given information. 60 किलोमीटर से जा रहा है तो 5 किलोमीटर पर किलोमीटर आएगा, 5 रुपीज़ पर किलोमीटर आएगा. 90 से जाएगा तो 8 रुपीज़ पर किलोमीटर आएगा. सो ही विश टू कवर द मैक्सिमम डिस्टेंस. मैक्सिमम डिस्टेंस बोला है तो योर वेरिएबल्स विल बी व्हाट. सो स्टेप नंबर 1 विल बी लेट x and y be the distances covered at 60 kilometers per hour and 90 kilometers per hour. Why I have taken x and y as a distance? Because I want to have the maximum distance. So my variable is what? Decision variable is what? The distance will be my decision variable. Okay, so I hope you are getting this. Great. अभी फिर रेस्पेक्टिव डिस्टेंसेस निकालो. So step number 2 is what? You get the distances. So if x1 is the distance and 60 is the kilometer, so can you tell me what will be the time required for this? So t1 will be what? It is nothing but x1 divided by 60, can I say? That is x1 is a kilometer and 60 is nothing but a kilometer per hour. So it is kilometer and it is nothing but kilometer per hour. Okay, so this kilometer cancel and this is equals to r. ये ऊपर जाएगा. So t1 is nothing but implies. So t1 is nothing but x1 by 60 r. Similarly, can I get the t2 here? That is a time taken or the time required to travel by the 90 kilometers per hour. So that is nothing but x1 नहीं आएगा. It will be y, sorry, x only, not x1. It is x only. So here you will be having y by 90 hours. Similarly, okay. So tell me what is the maximum constraint within an hour बोला है. So t1 and t2 should be, t1 plus t2 should be less than or equals to 1 hour. So this is what we have the constraint number 1. So constraint is on time. Okay. So the first time is what? It is x by 60 plus y by 90. It should be less than or equals to 1 hour. I hope you are understanding this. Okay. So this is the time 1 and this is time 2. So if I add these two, I will be having the time which is less than or equals to 1. Okay. First constraint. The second constraint is on the rupees. Okay. So tell me, if he is traveling x1 distance for by 60 kilometers per hour and he requires 5 per kilometer, मतलब इस स्पीड से अगर वो जा रहा है तो 5 किलोमीटर पर 5 रुपीज़ पर किलोमीटर स्पेंड कर रहा है वो. एंड वी हैव कंसिडर्ड दैट एट 60 किलोमीटर ही इज ट्रेवलिंग फॉर x1 किलोमीटर. एका किलोमीटरला 5 रुपये, तो x1 किलोमीटर के लिए कितना रहेगा? 5x1. So that is the cost he is paying for 60 kilometers per hour. Okay, so the constraint is what? Next constraint is on the rupees. So it is a 5x1 plus 90 से अगर वो जा रहा है तो 1 किलोमीटर को he is spending 8 rupees. And for y, how much he will spend? He will spend 8y rupees. Okay, so here I will be having only x1, not x. Okay, here I will be having only x, not x1. Plus next distance is, next rupees is what? It is 8 into y. Okay, and it should be less than or equals to 600 because उसके पास मैक्सिमम खर्चा करने के लिए कितना है? It is only 600 rupees he is having. Okay, so these are the two constraints I am having. Next is maximum. Objective function will be what? So the step number 3 is what? Write down the objective function. So objective function is to travel maximum distance. So x plus y should be maximum. This is what I get. Step number 4 is the non-negative constraints. So x and y are the distances, so they cannot be negative. They can be 0 but they cannot be negative. So this is what you get the total linear programming problem formulation in these simple 4 steps. Okay, so I hope you are understanding this. Good. Now let's see the last question of this exercise. Very important question. Okay, if you have understood these questions, question number 8 and 9, then any question from this L.P.P you can solve easily. Let's see the statement for 9. Okay, so क्या बोल रहा है ये? The company makes concrete bricks made up of cement and sand. The weight of concrete bricks has to be at least 5 kg. So at least बोला है, मतलब ये हो गया मेरा concrete, हो गया मेरा first constraint, constraint number 1. Okay, cement cost rupees 20 per kg and sand cost rupees 6 per kg. पैसा दिया है भाई, मतलब क्या है? ये प्रॉफिट फंक्शन होना चाहिए यहाँ पे, पर केजी बोला है. ओके, सो यहाँ से यू शुड बी गेटिंग द डिसीजन वेरिएबल्स. सो व्हाट विल बी द डिसीजन वेरिएबल? सो एक्स, लेट एक्स एंड वाई बी द नंबर ऑफ केजीज ऑफ सीमेंट एंड नंबर ऑफ केजीज ऑफ सैंड. दिस विल बी योर एक्स एंड वाई. ओके, सो नेक्स्ट कंसेंट, लेट्स सी. स्ट्रेंथ कंसिडरेशन डिक्टेट दैट अ कॉन्क्रीट ब्रिक should contain minimum 4 kg, ये हो गया अपना सेकेंड कंस्टेंट नंबर 2 ऑफ सीमेंट एंड नॉट मोर देन 2 kg ऑफ सैंड, ये हो गया मेरा कंस्टेंट नंबर 3. ओके, फॉर्म द LPP फॉर द कॉस्ट टू बी मिनिमम, ये हो गया मेरा ऑब्जेक्टिव फंक्शन. ओके, नाउ लेट्स फॉर्म द LPP. फर्स्ट स्टेप इज व्हाट, राइट डाउन द डिसीजन वेरिएबल्स. पर केजी बोला है तो वो हो गया अपने डिसीजन वेरिएबल्स. सो लेट x and y be the number of kgs of cement and sand. The number of kgs of cement and sand. Okay, step number 2 is what, get the objective function. Objective function is z is equals to minimum cost चाहिए, so it is 20x plus 6y, it should be minimum. Okay, so it is my objective function. Let's see the constraints now. So constraints में क्या है, पहला constraint is what, the concrete brick has to be at least 5 kg. concrete मतलब क्या है, ये सीमेंट एंड सैंड, इन दोनों को मिला के आपका कंक्रीट हो रहा है. कंपनी मेक्स अ कंक्रीट ब्रिक्स मेड अप ऑफ सीमेंट एंड सैंड. सो कंक्रीट का वेट मतलब क्या है, सीमेंट एंड सैंड का दोनों का वेट मिला के. सो द कंस्टेंट फर्स्ट नंबर 1 इज व्हाट, इट इज ऑन द कंक्रीट. ओके, सो इसका कंस्टेंट क्या आएगा, x प्लस वाई एटलीस्ट 5 kg बोला है, सो इट शुड ग्रेटर देन और इक्वल्स टू 5 kg. आई होप यू आर गेटिंग दिस. x इज सीमेंट एंड y इज सैंड, इन दोनों को मिला के कॉन्क्रीट हो गया. सो कॉन्क्रीट इज ग्रेटर देन और इक्वल्स टू 5. ओके, सो कॉन्क्रीटर हो गया, ये कॉन्क्रीटर नहीं है, कॉन्क्रीट है. द नेक्स्ट कंस्टेंट इज ऑन this, see here, minimum. The strength consideration dictated that the concrete brick should contain minimum 4 kg of cement. Okay, so cement is what, cement is nothing but minimum 4 kg, so it is greater than or equals to 4, and not more than 2 kg of sand. So y should be what, not more than मतलब maximum 2 kg है, it is less than or equals to 2, but it cannot be negative. Of course na, cement kg cannot be negative, so it is what, we get the 0 less than or equals to 5 less than or equals to 2. This is what you get the constraint on the concrete and cement and sand. The fourth and final constraint is what, it is a non-negative constraint. So of course x is 0 or positive and y is 0 or positive. Okay, so this is how total LPP you get for the given question. So I hope you have understood all the questions from this exercise. We have seen all the questions in detail. So please go through all these questions once again. If you have any doubt, let me know. Okay. So from the next video, we'll be looking at the solutions to the given LPP. Okay. So with this, we will stop here. Thank you.